Oh hey you guys, I'm Lauren Holly. I'm a cityscape and street photographer based out of the Atlanta area. Now I'm actually in downtown Atlanta right now, and I have with me the Panasonic LUMIX S1 full frame mirrorless camera. Now I've been shooting with LUMIX Micro Four Thirds cameras since about 2011. So when LUMIX reached out and asked me if I wanted to collaborate and try the S1, of course I said yes. I couldn't wait to try the S1. So what I wanted to do today for this video is take you guys on a street photography walk through downtown Atlanta, maybe show you some of my favorite spots, and talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I love about the S1 and maybe some of the things I might like a little bit better about my Micro Four Thirds cameras. All right, so it's a beautiful day in Atlanta. Let's get out there on the street and let's see what kind of pictures we can make with the S1. Before we get into that, no one's paying me for this review, and LUMIX did not ask me to give them a favorable review of the S1. I just really wanted to show you guys some of the pictures I made with the S1 and tell you a little bit about my experience. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing you notice about the S1 is that it is substantial, both in size and weight. Now, of course, that's a pretty big departure from some of the smaller bodied Micro Four Thirds LUMIX cameras that I've been shooting with. And however intimidating as that may have seemed at first, I found the S1 to be more comfortable in hand than I expected, and I actually really loved the contours and ergonomics of the body design. Not to mention, it's built like a tank and feels utterly indestructible. Okay, so we're out in one of my favorite areas. I really love this spot right here. See if we can get some good pictures. I'm really bad about getting in the middle of the street. You're not supposed to do that, but I do it all the time. Don't try this at home. Oh, let's see if we can get this. Oh my god, there's a really nice person behind me just now who did not run over me. That was really cool of them. One thing I really love about the S1 is how generous and comfortable the hand grip is. The camera is not going to easily slip from your hand, and there's plenty of room for your thumb on the back side as all of the buttons and dials are placed along the interior wall, so you won't be accidentally pressing buttons all the time, which is something that happens to me sometimes with my much smaller Micro Four Thirds cameras. Overall, the S1 feels very thoughtfully designed. Everything is right where you need it to be, and I found nothing to be in the way or poorly placed. One thing LUMIX is widely praised for in their Micro Four Thirds cameras is their attention to detail, specifically their user-friendly touchscreen menus and excellent ergonomics. All these things have made their way to the S1, with some upgrades, of course. The touch menu is expanded into a multi-tab hierarchy, which feels different but familiar. They just packed so many features in here that extra tier keeps things tidy, and it only takes a little getting used to. You have all your audio-video ports tucked away neatly on the left side, and a very handy double card slot on the right, which holds one QXD card and the second slot holds an SD card. So you have a nice little cushion from that pesky problem of running out of card space, which on the S1 happens a lot more quickly than on some of my smaller Micro Four Thirds cameras. Favorite features of the S1 are actually the LCD display and the EVF. which are the sharpest and clearest displays that I've ever seen. And it's something I noticed right away when I first turned the camera on. I was totally mesmerized and I just couldn't stop staring into them. So of course I looked it up, and as it turns out, the EVF in particular is currently the best on the market, which I didn't know prior to getting the S1, so it's not like that was something I was expecting. But it definitely grabbed my attention right away and really made shooting with the S1 just seem like a dream. Now, to go from really high praise to maybe a little more critical, the thing I found the most disappointing about the S1 is actually this tilting screen. Since I've been shooting with LUMIX Micro Four Thirds cameras for about the last decade, I've come to expect a fully articulating screen. I just don't understand why they would eliminate such an important and useful feature in such a high-end, elegant camera as the S1, especially at the price point, and especially considering this is their entry product into such a competitive market. Now, I should also point out, the S1H does in fact have an articulating screen and many other wonderful video upgrades, but at double the price, a whopping $4,000 body only. It's just overkill for someone like me who's about 80% photography and maybe 20% video on a good day. It just doesn't justify the major cost increase when the S1 video suits me more than fine. I can't see paying an additional $2,000 just to get an articulating screen that I've grown accustomed to seeing in my Micro Four Thirds bodies that cost a fraction of the S1. It pains me to say it, but this is absolutely a deal breaker for me. Or maybe it's more like a heartbreaker. I hope that LUMIX will rethink this aspect of the design and add an articulating screen to all future versions of the S-series cameras and not just exclusively to the video-only version. This one small but critical detail would put the S1 at the top of my shopping list, but without it, it's harder to justify at that high price point. It's no surprise that image quality on the S1 is spectacular, especially if you're already familiar with LUMIX and their superb color profiles and raw image quality in their Micro Four Thirds cameras. But in the S1, low light is where the full frame sensor really packs a punch. Being able to shoot in dark settings with a kit lens, which I found surprisingly impressive at f4, with ISOs upwards of 6400, 12,800, and higher. Now in Micro Four Thirds, I tend to rely on wide aperture primes, and I'm always keeping ISO top of mind. I like to stay at 1600 ISO or lower, which in most cases I can achieve that at an f1.2, 1.4, or 1.8. But with the S1, I was stuck most of the time with an f4, so I had to flip my thinking from relying on aperture to relying on ISO, and the results really impressed me. I think it's fair to say this camera pretty much sees in the dark. Now we gotta talk about this kit lens. I was really impressed by the kit lens, which surprised me because I normally don't even buy kit lenses. I usually buy cameras body only, and I prefer prime lenses with wider apertures. So of course the f4 aperture sounded pretty underwhelming, but the impressive low light performance of the S1 makes up for that a little bit, at least when it's low light we're talking about. I found the 24-105 to be a really nice zoom range, and the other nice thing worth mentioning is that f4.0 aperture is constant throughout the zoom range, so at least you're not losing light as you zoom in, which makes this lens much more appealing. It's also weather sealed and has built-in lens stabilization. Initially, I wasn't that excited about this lens due to the f4 aperture, but once I had it in hand, it exceeded all my expectations and was by far my favorite of the 3 lenses that were sent to me. Now I won't go into deep detail on those other lenses right now. That's a whole new topic for another day, and I do want to wrap this up. But I will say this in regard to lenses. If you're on Micro Four Thirds, it's probably because size is a factor, and of course we know the full frame lenses for the S1 are quite large. However, I was able to modify the S1 for my street and travel shooting by using some of my vintage lenses with an inexpensive adapter I picked up on Amazon. Of course, I enjoy manual focus, so that was a trade-off I was willing to make. This opened up my options for primes to much more than the 50mm, and it didn't weigh me down nearly as much carrying those smaller lenses around in my bag. But like I said, that's a whole nother video for another day. Overall, I found the S1 to be a nearly perfect camera, impressive on so many levels. If only they could fix that tilting screen and make it fully articulating, I might just have to buy one. In the meantime, maybe I'll look more seriously at the G9, which prior to my experience using the S1, I'd shrugged off as too big and too heavy for my taste. So I guess this leaves me with a lot to think about. Alright YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, or even better yet, give me a follow. I want to thank again Lumix for sending me the S1 and all of these incredible lenses to shoot with. It's been an absolute joy and a pleasure. Now I'm going to drop some links below so you can pick up the S1 and all these amazing lenses from my Amazon affiliate page. Your support there is greatly appreciated. So thank you so much for watching today. I'm going to get out of here and I'll see y'all next time.